guys, it's Kevin, my review for the new Netflix film Private Life. And what Private Life is essentially about is we center on the relationship of Rachel and Richard, and these two have been married for many years now. Only problem is they have yet to conceive a child. This is something that they have tried out their whole marriage, and they're very quickly realizing that time is kind of running out for them, and they might be running out of options. And basically, the rest of the film is them subsequently trying to come up with certain solutions, but also seeing the effect that this has on their marriage overall, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, Private Life in general, I really can't say if I was looking forward to this movie or not, mainly because I avoided pretty much every trailer for this one. This was one where I saw the cast, I saw the poster, and I'm like, alright, I'm sold, and I really did not want to go into it knowing a lot. And then I started to hear really great things about it. I'm like, alright, maybe this is another Netflix movie that could really impress me. And going into this film pretty much blind, I think was definitely a really good decision, because Netflix has done it once again. This is another really great Netflix film that is by far the best one they have put out so far this year. That really is starting to, I think, reignite my hope for Netflix movies overall. But we're just getting to this one right now, starting off with the cast. And right off the bat, the cast here is fantastic. Everyone here is very well casted. I think everyone really does do a fantastic performance. But let's first talk about our main two stars here. Paul Giamatti and Kathryn Hahn both give phenomenal performances. They both do a very good job here. But the standout easily is Giamatti, who I thought was phenomenal in this role. And the thing I really love about Richard is that on the surface, these two seem like a good, compatible couple that don't really have a lot of problems going on. You can see for Richard, that's not really the case. Sure, he's very supportive and loving towards Rachel, but you can see that his desire to want a child, it's very quickly starting to wane. And there's a really great scene in particular where he kind of brings up the fact to her that he's not really that upset about this and the effect that it really does have on their marriage. And I thought he just did an incredible job. There's another really great scene with him and this hospital doctor, and oh my god, it was incredible. I really loved what he had to do here. And again, don't discredit Hahn, because she is really great in this role. I love what she had to do. It's just Giamatti did stick out more for me, and I think the two of them just worked so well together. I really loved what they had to do in this film. We'll get more into their characters a little bit later, but I really love them here, and I both think they did an incredible job here. But someone else who really impressed me here that I really have never seen before is Kayli Carter as the character of Sadie, who I really loved here. This is someone who is Richard and Rachel's niece, and she ends up becoming a possible egg donor for them. And where she ends up going, I really did love. What I love about Carter's acting is that she feels very natural. She feels very relatable, especially for someone like me, who is very similar to someone like Sadie, who, yeah, she's in college, and yes, she's a film major, but or a writing major rather, but she doesn't really know where she wants to go in life, and she's kind of lost, and she sees this baby as a way to possibly give her life, give herself a goal, give herself some sort of direction. And someone like me who is in college and is, a major, but isn't entirely sure what they want to do, that was extremely relatable, and I really love the way that Carter does play this up. I think she had the perfect blend of showing how she's doing this for both selfish and selfless reasons, and I really did love seeing that. And some of the best scenes in this movie are just these three interacting. It feels very natural. They really do feel like a family, and you really do fall in love with their relationship. Even if it isn't possible what they actually want to do, you are hoping for them, and I think they really did do a really great job with the three of them together. I really loved her performance here as well. And then everyone else in this film I thought was also really great. Molly Shannon was phenomenal in this role. I mean, she was on fire, particularly in one scene in this movie involving this Thanksgiving dinner. Just holy shit. I mean, I've seen range from Molly Shannon, but this is for sure some of the best work I've ever seen from her. Carroll Lynch was really great here. Desmin Borges from You're the Worst shows up for a little bit, and I really liked what he did in the film. Emily Robinson, for what she had, was really good. Everyone really just does an incredible job. This is easily one of the most well-acted Netflix movies I've seen in so long, and that is definitely something that I will give the cast here for sure. But now I really want to get to the directing and the writing, because the way that Tamara Jenkins goes about this script, it is definitely a tough script to do. Obviously, the tone is very hard to maintain, and we've seen a lot of movies like this before. But what Jenkins does, that divorces it from other movies involving, a couple's inability to, conceive a child, is that she plays it in a much more realistic way. There are points in this movie that are very fun. There are points in this movie that will have you laughing, but it's definitely very real, and it's a very raw portrayal at what she's doing, and I think she was able to switch from comedy to drama very well here. The film doesn't really have a specified genre, and that's something I really liked about it. It's a bunch of different things, and I think it really does work as that, because again, it just feels more realistic in that way, and I really love the way that Jenkins did go about that here. But going to the writing here as well, I thought was so well done. I really loved the writing in this film, and especially when it comes to the characters of Richard and Rachel, because at the surface, there's not a ton to these guys. They seem like a very solid married couple who has their life together, but you can see that this whole, them not being able to have a child and having, bringing life into the world, as they call it, it has hurt them, and it's very much taken a toll on them in their relationship. And a lot of this film, they do it in a way that's very subtle. It's a very quiet movie in that sense, where, you can tell that there are obviously problems going on within their relationship, and you keep waiting for one of them to blow up and for something to happen, but it just doesn't. Why? Because that wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't make sense from where Richard and Rachel are to just have like this major freakout scene. And I thought it was a very good choice with how restrained the script really is. It is very hard hitting for sure, but just not in the way you may expect. There's nothing showy about the script. It takes itself in a very realistic, nuanced manner, and that's something I really loved about this script a lot. I thought it was very well written, and there's a lot of great things going on there. And when you factor Sadie into the equation as well, I think she also was very well factored into the story. I really loved where she ended up going as a character, because again, things do not go in the way you'd expect them to. You're hoping the best for this couple, but unfortunately, life is going to get in the way. Reality is going to settle in, because that's just life. And that's one of the things I love about this movie. There's nothing Hollywoodized about this story. There's nothing movie, there's nothing movie about this. There's nothing about this that feels like a movie. It feels like real life. It's one of those movies where you get so engrossed that you forget you're watching a movie. And those are the kind of dramas that I personally really love. The ones that aren't afraid to get into some really hard-hitting stuff, but also not be too on the nose about it. And that's where I think Private Life really does a great job with riding the line between those two things. And I thought the setup as well was really great here. We established very early on how Richard and Rachel, the many attempts that they've had, and that they've been trying to do this for years and it hasn't worked out. There's a heartbreaking montage with one of their possible donors, but also this child that they were trying to adopt, and it's probably one of the most emotional scenes in the movie, but it's not really talked about again, and some people might be upset about, but for me, you have to understand, this is something that Richard and Rachel have been trying to do for a very long time, and they have very much are moving past it. They're at the end of their rope pretty much here. You can see that they're very much at the end of the rope. They're very much losing options, and it's very sad to see, but again, the film doesn't try to play it up. The film just plays it very straight, and I really did love that about this film a lot. In terms of the cinematography, this film definitely looks really great. There's no one shot in particular that I thought was like incredible, but I just thought the film was very well shot and things like that, good shot composition, all that good stuff. In terms of the score here is really not used a lot. It's very minimal. There's some, stock music and things like that, but there really is not much of a score to this film. And for some, again, that might take them out of it because, there's, it's easy to get bored. But I really was never bored in this film. I will say the first 40 to 50 minutes are quite slow here, and I can see how that would take someone out of the film. I, on the other hand, thought it made perfect sense because, again, we're following two characters here who are constantly trying to successfully complete this goal, to conceive a child. But unfortunately, things just keep falling through for them. Things just keep going wrong. And it does feel very repetitive in that sense, but when you have characters who are dealing with this, obviously it's going to play out like that. Obviously, for a while, they're going to struggle. And for some, like I said, they may be bored because of the fact that for a while, there isn't really much progression in the story. It isn't really until Sadie comes in that finally there's some sort of hope. There's a lot of false hope for these characters. There's a lot of there are a lot of times where you get the sense that everything's going to be okay for them, but like I said, eventually reality does settle in, and I thought the film was very well paced in that way. It is a very brisk 2 hours. It is definitely a slow burner, but for me, I was into it pretty much the whole time, and it's really just because of how much I enjoyed these characters, how much I really loved getting into them, seeing their struggle and their inability to, like I said, conceive this child, and what this is really doing to them. And I thought it was just very well handled in that sense. The ending in particular to this film, I thought was really bold and honestly was really risky the way they do end this film. It doesn't end in the way you think it's going to. The film it gives you this hope that maybe things are going to go well for them, but it ends in a way that's very ambiguous. And I think for some, they're going to be annoyed. I know a lot of people do not like ambiguous endings. I, on the other hand, think they can be done very well. And in this sense, I think it was definitely done very well. Again, considering how realistic this film really does feel, there's a lot of unsatisfaction in the story, and I think that plays very well within the ending. It's one of those films where throughout the last frame, nothing about it feels Hollywoodized. It just feels very raw, and it's very gripping in that sense, and that's one of the many things that I really loved about this film. Other than that, there's really not much else to... And in terms of flaws, like I said, really it's only the first 40 to 15 minutes that I thought was a little bit slow. There is a relationship in the film that doesn't really get, I think, the necessary closure that it deserved. Like, we do come back to it, but I think we could have seen a little bit more of it. But the film's not really about that side romance. It's really about Richard and Rachel. That is the main crux of the story, and the film gets it down to a T. You're gonna fall in love with these characters. You're going to want them to succeed, and for that reason alone, I adored Private Life. There's so many things to love about this film, and sure, it's not a film that I think you need to kind of rush out and see, because it definitely is not the easiest film to watch, for sure. Like I said, it is very depressing at points. It's not very hopeful. There are definitely some fun moments, and Giamatti and Hahn give phenomenal, and Carter as well, I should add. They all give phenomenal performances here, and I think that alone is worth watching. But it's not a film that I think a lot of people are going to watch, and it's sad because I think this is one of the better films that Netflix has done in quite some time. This is what I really want to see from Netflix. I've said this so many times, but when you have great characters and a great script, this is absolutely what Netflix needs to be distributing. They need to stop focusing on trying to make this really big budget sci-fi film, because these quieter films, that is where they're really excelling, and Private Life very much is a prime example of that, and I think is definitely one that Netflix should take a lot of note from. They should see the praise that this movie is getting. They should see the tomato meter score and things like that, and I think they should take it as an example of this is what we need to start distributing, and I think it's much closer, like I said, to what they really do need to be doing, because it definitely is one of the best films I have seen from them for sure. I really loved everything about Private Life, and I am going to give Private Life overall an A. Oh, Netflix, I mean, we have had a very rocky relationship this year, but I think you're really starting to get on track. I hope this is not a false hope. I hope this is not a fluke, but between Apostle and Roma and things like that are coming out, I really am starting to have more hope for Netflix, and I'm hoping that moving forward, this is the direction that they continue to go in. But either way, guys, that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please check out this film if you haven't. It really is a very big recommendation. I don't think enough people are talking about it, but that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.